Hey, Next Levelers, it's Bob Gibbons. I'm your host for today's episode of The Next Level Show. We're going to learn what works, what doesn't work in business, failures, successes. And today's guest is Antonio T. Smith, Jr.
I had to get my own sound effects.
That's some self-promotion right there. So Antonio T. Smith, Jr., he is the founder and CEO of the TheATSJr.Companies based in Galveston, Texas. They have been around for many years and have around 50 employees, and you can find out more about them at TheATSJr.com on the webs. And with us today also is Grace. What's your last name, Grace?
Sandals.
Sandals. Grace Sandals. Wow. Sounds like there's a product in there somewhere. And Deanna. And
Deanna Mitchell.
Mitchell. Excellent. So Deanna is the publicist, and she makes Antonio look good and sound good and look smart and all the rest.
Thank you very much.
And Grace. Now, Grace, you have an interesting title because you're director of sales, but something else.
Yes, I am the happiness director as well.
The happiness director.
Happiness director.
I need to get me one of those. All right. So, Antonio, the TheATSJr.Companies, what is that? If I ask you, just tell our listeners, what is that? What is it?
Yeah, I can sum it up in just a few words. We make profitable clients more profitable.
Okay.
Now, that just depends on the client. For people like Les Brown, we have to make him relevant on YouTube and now then redefine him, and then TV deals and stuff like that for software companies to do animation, and for NASA, I can't even tell you about that one. So I shouldn't even
tell me, but you'd have to tell me.
Yeah.
So seriously, NASA's a client?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I do some work with NASA through another company that just signed some multi-million-dollar contracts with them.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So you have all these clients and you make them more profitable, but can you be more specific? What does that really look like in practice?
Yeah, sure. I guess it just depends. It's four basic rules, I would suppose. I teach people how to find where their congregation is.
Okay.
And then once you find where your congregation is, and that's where your customers and all this stuff like that, then I teach you how to follow their attention. And then once you follow their attention, I teach you how to jump in front of that attention. And then I teach you how to have a product to appease or to ease the pain of said attention.
Okay.
And I kind of operate around those four areas with every client, customer there is, because we all have someone congregating and they all have attention going somewhere we would like to come to us, and then we need to sell to them. That's what I do.
Interesting. So you're a marketing company.
On steroids.
Ultimately.
Yeah. You can say marketing. I got some other skill sets that work. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's kind of cool though, because I like the way you talk about finding your congregation.
Yep.
So your tribe, insert whatever synonymous word goes there, your tribe, your people, your congregation. I like congregation. Follow their attention.
Yeah.
Wherever that might be. Jump in front of that attention and then find a product
Absolutely.
that you can sell to them that solves their need. It's not just creating a product for the sake of creating a product, but something that's going to be what they need.
Spot on. Absolutely. Now, I use the word congregation on purpose because when you think about a congregation, it's a bunch of people that have nothing in common, but then they get in common on a set of ideas and beliefs.
Okay.
And that's really what I teach people and clients, that you have to find, because everything's changed. Like Netflix is using psychographics, not demographics. Harley Davidson, you can have a dentist riding a Harley, or a biker riding a Harley, and a soccer mom riding a Harley. It doesn't matter, right? It's all about psychographics. And that's why I use the word congregation. A bunch of people have nothing in common, and all of a sudden, on a set of ideas and beliefs, they get stuff in common. And then, my favorite part, they freely donate to whatever they have in common. I love that part.
I mean, that's kind of a cool idea, though, because I like that people come together of their own free will.
Yep.
So they're being attracted by something. So how do you find a congregation?
Great question. I've never been asked that one. I instinctively know it through a skill set. In the Army, I was military intelligence, and my job was to find where the enemy was congregating at. And I had to use 3 different what they call accesses of approach. And when I got out the Army, all I knew I'd do is drink beer, play space, and kill people. And I was trying to figure out what the heck do I do with these skills, right? I don't know what to do with these. And then it dawned on me 3 years later after I was a freaking loser. And it dawned on me, I could do the same thing I did for the Army for clients. So I find people's congregation by simply finding, all right, what are the 3 best ways that your product is going to be out here and who the heck likes it? And once I find out who the heck likes it, then I love to go to people's reviews and look at the 1-star reviews and look at all that pain. Because forget the 5-star reviews. Who cares about that? It's the 1 and 2. These people have something to say, right? When you leave a 1-star review, you got plenty to say. And they always give you all that information. So I use those psychoanalytic stuff the Army taught me to find that stuff out.
You sound like my wife because she cracks me up because whenever we go look at reviews, I go to the 5 stars because I want to see all the good things about what I'm going to experience when I go to the Airbnb or the whatever, right? No, she goes to the 1 stars.
That's it. They got something to say, man.
Yeah. And I mean, in a way, it's really smart. And I now find myself going to the 1 stars to kind of see what that is first and balancing that with, and of course, you got to put those in balance, right?
Absolutely.
So if you have 3 1 stars and 500 5 stars, then you got to take that into account. You can't please some people.
No. In fact, that's maybe the most money ever, learning how not to chase people who are not my customer. Once I figured that out, my income exploded. It is a shame to chase people who would never buy from you.
Yeah, because they're not your congregation.
Yeah, there you go. They're not your congregation.
Yeah, if you're from a different denomination.
Look at it. Let's work on it, Bob.
Well, and we it's funny because we tend to judge each other without knowing much about each other. I had somebody one time ask me what denomination I belonged to, and I told him, and he's like, "Oh, are you guys still legalists?" And I was like, well, I don't think we really ever were, although there are people in the denomination who are, like in everyone. And he's like, well, but yeah, you guys were real legalistic about this and this and this. And I was like, well, we tend to judge each other out of ignorance.
Yeah.
And
that's the truth.
Yeah, and we do that in all kinds of congregations, not just actual church congregations, but we do that based on every other way to define people that exist.
Oh, we can't wait to do it. We're excited to do it. In fact, if we judge you first, and then now it makes us relevant to have the hot gossip and tell our other people. So now we're cool because we're talking bad about you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sucks. But
so in your order of things, though, the product comes last.
Yeah. It always should come last.
So how do I find a congregation if I don't know the product?
You know what? That is how business is working today, though. The way businesses working today is the product comes only because people are dying for it and don't even know it. The Facebook didn't exist because, I got a great idea. I'm going to make people, show their face on Facebook and date or whatever. It was like, I'm in college and people are like, man, we want to be connected. So let me figure out how to do that and what they like. And then, by the way, here's this product after all these steps I just took. The most successful, Amazon, same way. The most successful companies are building their product last because they're building the trust, because if they know you, they'll follow you. If they trust you, they'll buy from you. They're building the trust and all those, finding your attention first, then the product comes next.
So, and those products change over time.
They should.
Amazon doesn't look anything like it did when it started. Same with Facebook, same with so many other things.
I think Amazon is the smartest company out. And I say that, and I know that's a very bold statement. Because, I love Elon Musk is my hero, but Amazon, Jeff Bezos has this way of staying disruptive. He's too big to be disruptive. It doesn't make sense. His company is too big. He shouldn't be jumping market shares, and he should be out of business by another small company by now. But he keeps on buying disruptive companies and then saying, hey, stay disruptive, stay there. We're just going to own you. Kind of like Warren Buffett. And it keeps him relevant, and then obviously number one, except for the divorce he's going through. Sorry about that one.
The one thing that surprises me about Amazon is that they're not in pharmaceuticals that I know of anyway, meaning prescription drugs.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them get into that, but I got to believe that's coming.
Yeah, it makes sense. That makes sense. I didn't even think about that. I know for sure they're going to jump into artificial intelligence in a major way. And they're already there when you think about, the way you shop on them, but they have to jump in there because it's virtual reality. artificial intelligence. Gary Vee is screaming voice everywhere. He's right about that, by the way. They're definitely going to jump in artificial intelligence, robots, self-driving cars. I would. They got drones. That's exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we already have artificial intelligence in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, Alexa and all those things that you talk to that supposedly do things for you, that's AI to some extent.
Definitely.
They still freak me out a little bit. I don't have. I actually got one of those Echo Dots, whatever they are, kind of like Alexa, I guess. Or you talk to Alexa. Is Alexa inside the Echo Dot? I think
so.
So anyway, we haven't connected it.
Outstanding. You're a smart man. The government's not watching you. Good job.
Exactly. So let's go back real quick. You said you were in the Army.
Yeah, definitely. From 2000 to 2004, at the time I was a 96 Bravo 2, which is a sergeant in military intelligence analyst. I think they changed the codes now. I was homeless from 6 to 18, and I got adopted at 14 and out of CPS custody. It's kind of weird, but that's the way it worked. And I scored really high on the ASVAB, I believe a 78 or something. And I had no parents. I had no anything. And I get in there, I scored this 78 on the ASVAB, and they got this called GT score, like an IQ. It's like 134. And they're like, hey, you want to be military intelligence? Didn't even know it existed.
So this is just like the entrance exam to get into the Army?
The entrance exam to get in. I scored off the charts. They made me a spy.
Wow.
Yeah, I spent my whole 4 years doing that, to the point I've got a lot of skill sets. You probably don't want to go hand-to-hand combat with me.
Yeah. Well, I grew up on Army post myself.
Oh, there it is.
My dad is a retired Army officer.
Oh, okay.
Lieutenant Colonel, but he was the one in the Army, not me.
That's who I reported to.
So, okay.
I only reported to the Lieutenant Colonel.
Well, cool. All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Sweet.
Welcome back. We're talking to Antonio T. Smith, Jr. with the TheATSJr.Companies, and also with Deanna and Grace. Y'all haven't been talking much so far.
We'll get them to talk.
We're going to keep talking to Antonio, but I want y'all to jump in at any moment that you find a way to either tell me he's full of it, or you can, add a little color or do something to sort of poke a little fun at him.
Disclaimer: I'm always full of it. So,
okay. So you are an Army intelligence analyst. And I mean, are you like down in a bunker somewhere going over papers, or what?
You know what? If you
I know you can't really tell me.
Well, I had a top secret security clearance, SCI, secret compartmentalized information, read on. But I got shell shocked right after the Army. I didn't know what to do. So if you try to find me, an internet trail for me from 2004 to 2009, you won't. I literally fell off the grid and was one of those tinfoil hat dudes. I'm not lying at all. I'm seriously not lying. In fact, the Army still makes me go see a therapist today about every 3 to 6 months because of the crazy stuff I had to do for the Army, and my head went all loopy. So, yeah, it's cool to talk about, but they messed me up pretty good.
Well, now, it sounds like your upbringing wasn't exactly normal.
No, it wasn't.
So you alluded to this earlier, but you said that you were homeless from 6 to 18, but you got adopted at 14. So.
Crazy people adopted me at 14. I was bad. I was really, really bad. I gave them hell. And I bought my first car at 14 that didn't come from a job. And then they got mad at me, so I sold it that same day just to prove a point. Like, I can do what I want, I sold it for $1,000 more than what I bought it for. And it was just terrible. I was terrible to them. I was terrible. I didn't even know any concept about God until I got adopted. I had no idea. But from 6 to 14, I had no parents, no nothing.
And you weren't in the foster care system?
I ran away from the foster care system from Albertine Yeager Center in Galveston. And there was some abusive things going on, and I've always been a fighter. I don't take stuff like that too well, So I ran away, been arrested for truancy, which is in Texas. That's when you miss school because you're a kid. You're supposed to be in school, right?
But you're not getting any points for being a badass if all you got is truancy.
Man, yeah, I know, right? Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry.
All I got is truancy and some other stuff.
But I'm guessing if you lived on the streets from 6 to 14, you weren't. That wasn't the most
No.
interesting thing that you had going on?
No. If you want to check out my jail record, you can. It's public. but no, it was the most interesting thing that I had going on was trying to figure out how to eat. That was the most interesting thing. That made me an entrepreneur. I mean, my first legal business was at 14. But I was selling fake insurance. I was moving packages. You name it, buddy. Whatever I had to do to eat, that's what I was going to do.
So what was your first legit business?
My first legit business was a recording label because, come on, it's 90s, right? Everybody was a rapper.
So wait a minute, you're 14, you're starting a recording label?
Absolutely. In fact, actually, that same recording label ended up making me famous, and I was on iTunes. I sold 100,000 copies of an album, got a distribution deal. And if you look up Paper the Ghost, P-A-Y, now don't some cussing on there, okay? All right, P-A-Y-P-A, and then The Ghost. You'll find me on iTunes in 2007
You're
before
also
it
on
was
YouTube.
relevant. Yes.
I found one on YouTube last night because, I'm reading them up on you, and I'm like, Paper the Ghost? What in the heck? And so I pulled it up, and I gotta believe it's you. I have no reason not to believe it's you. And you're in there rapping like a crazy man.
Yeah, it's definitely me. And
now, what's
that
with
same
paper?
company.
What is that?
I was a paper chasing G, right? I was chasing money.
Ah,
That's what it
okay.
was. Yeah, so Paper Chasing Records. I actually did that. It's funny to talk about because, oh man, I was.
But what can a 14-year-old do in the recording business? How do you start your own label at 14?
Oh man, I owned everything. I had. Well, actually, you know what? This is a perfect time to throw an alley-oop to Deanna because she was a singer on there.
Oh,
so you tell.
So you were like a backup to Paper?
I was actually one of his female solo artists.
Oh, so you were an artist on the label?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what was were you a rapper too, or were you something else?
No, I wouldn't rap. That I knew my lane. My lane was not rapping. My lane was singing. And I actually met Antonio in high school, my sophomore year. Was it junior or senior year?
I don't even know.
It's a long time ago. When I came back around, because his best friend is a good friend of mine, he told me about the record label, and I was like, oh, okay. So I got involved. He actually there's a poet that he was friends with, him and his wife at the time. They came down because I was a developing artist. I was writing my own music, but I was inconfident. And I was inconfident in my voice. So he actually brought them down. Like, I don't know. I don't ask questions, but I just know he brought them down
I was like
to
16.
train me, to help me, to help me with my vocals, to help me with my writing. And it was pretty awesome. I grew. I didn't go far, but I grew.
I'm sure it was a great experience either way.
It really was. It really was. One thing about Antonio that I have picked up on in every time I've come across this path, and this is like the third time, and this time I told him, I said, you stuck with me. I ain't going nowhere. Everybody he works with, he believes in you. And he always tells you, if you don't believe in yourself, just believe in my belief until you believe in yourself. And the first time I met him was in high school. The second time was with the label, and then this time around. And I told him, I said, okay, if you say I can do it, I'm going to do it. So you stuck with me.
Nice.
But the label, when I met him, he was always doing something. Always doing something. And the label, till this day, like I said, I don't know I ask questions, but when I walked in, he had it set up. He had the mics, the studio, the equipment. He had everything set up. And I don't ask questions.
So how does that happen, though? I mean, at 14 years old, you don't really... Do you have the knowledge? Do you have the money? I mean, because to buy studio time, I mean, they don't give that away for free.
Yeah. I had the knowledge because I grew up on the streets. I didn't have the money, but I knew how to make money. So what I did, I'll tell you exactly how I funded it. I bought some blank CDs, right, because this is the 90s, and caught the deal 100-pack for $9.99 because that's what Office Depot does.
Of course.
And I started selling CDs for $1.
So you record them in the studio.
I built my own studio.
Okay.
I knew how to build computers, and I had this $45 Radio Shack condenser mic. and no headphones. So, so you would hear the beat while I'm rapping. It was crazy. And then, of course, I could afford headphones later. But just putting out that music, and everybody, I was standing outside of Walmart, which had Walmart in Galveston. It's like 3,000 people come through the door. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. And per hour. And I literally sold 6,000 copies in a day, and then eventually sold 100,000 copies. Now I'm sitting up here, 17, 18 years old, with $100,000. It was over. It's done for it. I had some groupies, and I had some money.
What else would you want in life?
Right?
But I mean, that's sort of the FUBU same
Yeah,
thing. 'Cause,
absolutely.
I mean, Damon John, he makes these things, and then he just goes out on the streets and starts selling them.
I've been doing it ever since. When I first got into real estate, I had a 397 credit score. That is not a joke. That is not a joke. I had a 397 credit score because I was never talking about credit, and I had no money again because I was coming out the Army. And I started just doing what they now call creative financing. To me, it was just making money. Right? I bought my first house by asking the owner. Actually, no, I taught you this way. I went to the Green Sheet, a little free newspaper, and I saw someone doing it for sale by owner. Needed $2,500. Okay, then I got me $2,500, and then I found the renter first. And I plugged that renter. I said, hey, you like this house? I sure do. So I, went for sale by owner with the house, put the renter in, and that was my first deal.
Nice.
Yeah, just like that. I never used my money, never used my credit, but I was hungry.
Always better to buy a cash flowing asset than one that's not.
That's it. I cash flowed $353 a month off of that one.
In fact, that's really the definition of an asset. It's something that generates income instead of taking your
all
income.
Facts. That's all. Robert Kiyosaki would agree with that too.
Well, and in fact, it's funny because I have a good friend that's a mortgage broker, and she and I have this ongoing argument because she says that your house that you live in is your biggest asset.
That is not.
And I was like, no, it's not an asset because it's taking money from me.
Facts.
It's not feeding me money, and she'll never agree with me on that.
Yeah,
But,
it's also keeping me a debt slave. That's why I don't have a job.
if you have a mortgage. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
that's
gonna
usually
do
the
that.
biggest way people get into debt.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
So, by the way, I love the fact that you're a big no debt guy.
Oh yeah. Well, I have debt because it's the only way capitalism works. But I have no debt that other people don't pay for. So as long as someone else is paying for my debt, I
Okay.
got it.
Okay.
But as far as debt, I don't have that. I don't do that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Dave Ramsey, so I'm very
Yeah.
much in favor of no debt
No
for
debt.
you personally.
That's right.
You might have some debt for a business venture,
Right, exactly.
but not for personal. So no car debt, no
None of that.
even no house debt if you can help it.
None
all
of
that.
that.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were definitely in debt, and and my worst year ever was in 2007. I made less money in 2007 than I'd made in the previous 15 or 20 years.
Wow.
And that's when my wife says, "Hey, I got this great idea, no debt." I'm like, "What? I mean, this is not the time. I'm not. Do you realize how little we have?" What I didn't know is she was actually out pawning stuff in the pawn shop,
Wow.
old jewelry of herself just to raise cash.
Ooh, I know
But
that
she
crushed
saved me
you.
from that humiliation.
Yeah.
She didn't tell me that for a long time. But we still went on the no debt plan and got out of debt, and thank God we did.
Dave Ramsey, the rock star, man. I love his snowball effect.
That's the best
That's
thing ever.
the greatest thing I've ever heard, to be honest with you. If anybody could, getting out of debt is just a discipline. It doesn't take talent. That's,
That's a good way to say it.
yeah.
It's just working the plan.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
we've led the Financial Peace University program in our church a couple of times.
Nice.
And it's amazing to see how people get empowered
Yeah.
in life. You talk about being if somebody's a slave to anything, it's a slave to debt.
That's
because
right.
they can't control it, and they got to have all the same stuff that everybody else has.
Well, it's the new. We can keep it real on your show, right? Okay, it's the new slavery.
Absolutely.
It used to be. Okay, I'm gonna make you pay for everything, and then I'm gonna pay for all your stuff. But now it's like, no, I'm not paying for your food. I'm gonna pay. You go out there, I own you, and then yeah.
Have you had a successful career selling to businesses? Maybe tired of having your income limited by arbitrary compensation plans that penalize you for selling more? If so, you should consider tenant representation, a specialty within commercial real estate. At Riata Commercial Realty, Inc., we represent companies and nonprofits that occupy office buildings and warehouses. There is no limit on income, and the more you produce, the higher percentage you keep. If selling houses at night and on weekends sounds good to you, don't call us. But if you want to work business hours, have unlimited income, and leverage the relationships you already have? We want to talk to you. Please visit us at TexasTenantRep.com. That's Texas, Texas, Tenant, Tenant, Rep, REP.com.
Hey, Next Levelers, Bob Gibbons here again, talking to Antonio T. Smith of the ATS Junior Companies. Check him out online at TheATSJr.Com. So we were talking about debt before.
Yeah, slavery used to be that I'm going to pay for you, period. Everything you do, I'm going to pay for you. In exchange for me paying for your food and giving you a place to stay, I own you. And all the money you generate is mine, because that's how it works. Mm-hmm. And that's slavery. In fact, and if you're having a hard time imagining that, just think of African-American slavery in America. Now, they don't care about color at all. They will enslave your Anglo-Saxon self right now. They're doing it.
They do care about color, but it's green.
That's true. That's true. Now, slavery is different. Slavery now says, well, I tell you what, I ain't paying for nothing. I'm not paying for your job. I'm not paying for your house. I'm not paying for your food. You're going to pay for all that, and I still own you. And 90% of the money you make is mine. It's the same thing. We just flipped it. We just flipped it to a working class slavery. And now you're stuck at some stupid place that's telling you take lunch at this time. And you know what? You make $9 an hour, buddy, because that's your value, right? It's crazy, man. So we flipped it because capitalism works best that way.
Now you're a big self-empowerment.
Absolutely.
Don't work for anybody else, work for yourself kind of guy.
Unless you're going to work for someone else and bust a Dave Ramsey and then buy your way out from working for them, I'm all for that.
Okay, so work extra jobs to get yourself out of that slavery of debt. But once you're out of that slavery of debt,
never go back.
And do what?
You do group economics. Group economics is the best. It is the original way we've done everything. If you think about, you brought up church. If you think about the Hebrews, God said, all right, separate yourself and do all this great stuff. But that was group economics. Feed yourself, learn to help yourself, marry yourself. Now that you got yourself together, go out and help your brothers and sisters. Now that you got all that community together, now go help the world. That's group economics. Your money should bounce around your community 16 times before it leaves out, period. It shouldn't be no reason that a church should have people with no jobs. That makes no sense. It is. Now someone's going, socialism. I'm not saying socialism. I'm saying group economics. We help each other because it just makes everything better, and you profit off each other. So no one is actually. I got plenty to say about that. I'm gonna be quiet right now.
Well, the step number 7 in the Dave Ramsey snowball is to grow your money and give it away.
That's it.
And so step 7 is I'm out of debt. I've got all my needs taken care of, and now I'm going to give to others.
That's right.
And places that need it.
It comes back. It's a universal law. In my case, so you've got Deanna here, my publicist, and my sales director right here. We do everything group economics, everything. I had to convince them, I had to train them for like 4 years because they like, I don't know if to make you famous and all that stuff like that, right? But there is no suffering. No, what's the number one rule we got?
No one suffers alone.
No one suffers alone. It is the number one rule in my organization. And of course, you're going to love the number 2 rules. There are no rules, but don't worry about that one.
So why would that be your first rule?
I grew up homeless, right? I was by myself for 8-9 years, suffering completely alone. No birthdays, no anything. I mean, in this trash can, trying to survive. If adult had anything to say to me, it was how bad I was. It was no help, nothing like that. From being molested, being raped, as this 54-pound kid, I was left all alone. So I promised when I grow up and make it, I wouldn't put people in that position. So it's core for me. And what's funny is, speaking of religion again, I view God that way. How you grow up is how you perceive God. As for me, God is this adopting father, just adopting people into his family, right? Mm-hmm. Now, of course, I see it that way psychologically. But it's a good way to see it. And everyone see it their own way, to each his own. But we're all right But that's just the way I see it, and that's the way I do my company.
Interesting. So let's talk about the company again. So you do consulting for these companies you mentioned.
Yep.
And you're doing a lot of marketing kind of stuff.
Yep.
What are the products that you guys are selling then?
So
When you get down to those number 4 items,
Yep.
what is your product you're selling?
The most transparent answer I can give, and I've never given it on any radio station, is you have to understand that real power is felt, not seen. So if you see it, it's not what I actually do. It's just one of these smart things I learned from the hood, right? Real power is felt, not seen. So if you see me on stage, if you see me on Bob's Next Level Radio, right? If you see that, that's not what I actually do. What I actually do is I have a slew of products you don't see, and you get drafted into my community, and then there's all these things that we sell. And that's how I actually make my real money.
Okay, and what are those things?
One of the biggest things is called the ATS Business University. Since I figured out how to become a millionaire, I now teach lower and middle class people how to become millionaires through 6 to 7 live trainings a week, 2-hour trainings. We just got finished one on the way to here. And what I also do, what I just changed it, is now that you're learning business, sales, and marketing, now that you're learning how to do that, I'm actually now paying people to do that.
Say what?
Yeah.
You're paying people to come to your university.
I'm paying people to come to my university.
Well,
now.
aren't you supposed to charge people to come to university?
You know, I charge some people to come to my university as well. Yes. What I
some are being charged and some are getting it for free, or actually being paid.
Well, everyone pays to get in. I created a money-making opportunity that if you refer, I kind of borrowed from multi-level marketing.
Okay.
If you refer, then you can get paid.
Okay.
Yep. And you get paid more, and it's a lifetime. Every membership is a lifetime membership. One payment, no upsells. You're here for life, and you can will it and sell it to your children.
And is this a university where I've got to go down to Galveston to attend?
Worldwide. We do Zoom. It is in Galveston because that's where my principal office is, but it's worldwide. We have people, I don't even know where, just in countries that I haven't even been to yet. And we do Zoom calls. And we let you download everything and keep it as well.
So there's recorded videos and training sessions, and then there's also live.
We do live, and those lives become the recordings.
Okay, Interesting. Why Galveston, by the way? You know they have hurricanes down there.
I know, right? I know. The crazy thing is, I just won't leave for some reason. I'm just there. I got a technology company, and I should probably go to Silicon Valley and do it. It's my number one thing that has my net worth. It's super sky high. I should probably go there, but I won't because I don't like being like everybody else. Galveston is surrounded by a bunch of wounded cities, and I see opportunity. I see a bunch of cities that need help, need leadership, and I see that nobody's doing it, so I'm buying it all up. It's kind of what I'm doing. Yeah.
But you're from Galveston originally?
From Galveston, 77550. From Galveston.
So it's sort of inertia, but it's also you feel like there's a mission there.
It's definitely a mission there. Galveston has this attitude that I wish I can change, but I haven't changed it yet. It's like a cul-de-sac. Since it's an island, since it's the last place in Texas. After that, you're going to be in Cuba if you go past it, right?
Well, not in that direction.
yeah.
We might have a little geography lesson next.
Yeah. Definitely. But you besides the geography lesson, you do that. It's like once you get past 45 and Baybrook area, which is South Houston, information just stops. It's like the smart people, the Bobs go, I'm not going down there. I'm going to just do a U-turn, go back up to Houston and make this money. And we have nothing. The city is all tourism and it's high class, low class. But the truth is we're such crabs in a bucket.
You got a medical school that's good.
Now, the medical school is good. It is top of the world good. It really is. Yeah, it is good. We do have that, and biggest employee in Galveston.
Oh, is it really?
Yes, the biggest employer in Galveston, and the second one will be the insurance company called American National, right? Okay. Insurance, and then the prison. Yeah.
I didn't know there was a prison down there.
Well, it's medical, so it's TDC has a medical branch part of it.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So why? So in your business, a big part of what you do also is speaking.
Yep.
So where do you speak? Who do you speak to? What's your message when you're speaking?
Message changes. Now, the core of my message is we're all connected. That's never gonna stop. But I never repeat keynotes. I speak 400 times a year. It's strategic for me also because that's what you see, right? Real power is felt, not seen. You don't feel me speaking. You see me speaking. Therefore, it's lead generation. My email list is 2.4 million people big because I speak that much.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't even have service that I can hold in it. I had to get some tech guy smarter than me to build it. I speak all over the world. I'll be in Mumbai next in front of 2,000 people, also being awarded for top 101 leadership and developmental minds. I probably got that wrong.
You got it right.
I got it right. Okay, good. I get that
Thumbs
award.
up for the publicist.
Yes.
Didn't screw it up.
Exactly. You know, I've got to speak for some NBA wives and NBA players and a bunch of real estate investors or agents tonight, right after I leave here in Houston. So I speak everywhere, but the keynotes always change. I always ask people, what do you want your crowd to take away? And then I tie in what I know and my principles around that. But I never repeat keynotes because too many people follow me to do that.
Yeah, you don't want to sound like the broken record. It's kind of like when you see a comedian, it's disappointing when you just hear all the same jokes you already know.
It's the number one problem what's wrong with my industry. Most people would classify me as a motivational speaker or some sort of speaker. That's the number one problem. The people who changed our world, you know, the people that we know, I don't want to call names, you go on YouTube and you hear them and you love them. And when you go see them in person, they saying the same thing they just said on YouTube. It's the number one problem with motivational speaking. And first off, motivational speaking is a bunch of crap. Don't lift me up and I don't know what to do. Give me the tools. Right? Give me the tools so I can get some stuff done. So you're spot on with that. We need to find a better way to give people more value.
Yeah, those motivational days. Like there's one that comes to Dallas or used to come to Dallas. And you have the entire day, like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and they have all these people lined up to motivate you and get you excited. In fact, I think it was called Get Motivated. I went to it one year, and it was funny because interspersed with that were all these opportunities for you to spend a heck of a lot of money for some program. And anyway, I never bought the program. All right, one more break. We'll be right back. We are back talking to Anthony. What am I saying? Antonio. I guess it could be Anthony if I Englishized it.
Yeah, that's it,
Antonio T. Smith, Jr., the TheATSJr.Companies, TheATSJr.com. So who is your ideal client?
Wow, okay. I have two of them I built out. It is Mike and Julie. Julie is a professional woman that values personal development over money, that has a 5-figure business and wants to influence the world. Mike is a former athlete that has coached some people and has got a little taste of it. He's really loving it, wants more. He also values personal development over money and wants to also change the world.
So now both of those are individuals.
Yes.
Those are not the NASAs and the companies and the NBA and some of the other names you've mentioned earlier.
You know what? Yes, great, because I don't believe in B2B. I think B2B, although I have a B2B podcast, all sorts of stuff, but it doesn't make sense because at the end of the day, B2B is just B2C because there's still a Mike and Julie that I got to talk to. And that's why I end up talking to NASAs or whoever it may be because of my ideal client draws me to them. And, of course, that 5-figure business part kind of makes you somewhat profitable, which also tells you I'm not trying to deal with non-profitable people. There's an ideology there that I don't have time for.
Okay. So, Grace, whenever you have identified that client, you're the director of sales. How do you find them and approach them?
I get their information. I call them up, tell them who I am, and I start asking questions all about them. I just tell them give a brief introduction of who I am, what company I'm with, and ask them questions about why they would want to come and be a part of us and ask. The main thing we ask, he calls it digging deep. So the main thing I ask them, I would ask you, what are 3 pain points that you're struggling with in your business or in your life?
Okay. So you're not trying to sell something first?
No. Because if I get you on the phone and say, hey, I'm with the ATS Business University, and then we have this, and this, you're going to hang up on me in the first 5 seconds.
Yeah, probably, if you get that much.
Right, but if I,
Yeah.
right. But if I tell you, hi, my name is Grace, I'm a happiness director with the TheATSJr.Companies. I'm not a salesperson. I just want to make you happy and get you to the highest expression of yourself. You may stay on the phone for a little bit.
So you never tell anybody you're director of sales. You tell them you're the happiness director.
Well, because she is now, because I did the change. She doesn't sell anymore, and she doesn't sell anymore. We have sellers or closers. All they do is just make people happy on the phone. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, more like prospecting. That's it.
You know, it's been fun to watch the changing titles in companies, and some people have the craziest titles. I love them. I wish I could think of one for myself because I'm just not interesting enough.
I've seen someone say, or either online or on TV, that they are the chief happiness officer.
Yeah. Those kinds of things I'm talking about. It's kind of cool. I like it. So, Antonio, you talked about the 40-hour work week is BS.
It is.
Why is that? What is it you're trying to say with that?
They ain't working 40 hours, Bob. They not. I thought I'm so intense. I'm like, hey, work. They're not doing it. I understand. In my company, 2 o'clock, 9 to 2, I'm gonna get that. After they eat, it's over, really. It's really over. Now, if they eat 12, 1, 2-ish, maybe I can starve them to 4 p.m., something like that. But no, after they eat, they start working on other things. So what I've done, I've dropped it down to about 20 weeks. We still work 40 hours a week, but I've done this here. They understand from 9 to, is it 2? Is it 9 to 2? It's all us. After that, then I flip and help them build their own personal businesses because they all have businesses. So from the rest, from 2 to 6 or 2 to 7 or whatever, however long they work, it's all about their business now in the same office, and I help them do their graphics, do their websites, or anything like that. Yeah, it's worked out.
Your employees basically work 5 hours for you.
Yep.
And 3 hours or whatever for themselves.
Right, exactly, and yeah, and in some of those hours, there's a training call that we do, 2-hour training call. So we're not working on anything but those training calls. So it's really about 3 and 3 when you actually break it down.
And so why are you doing that? Why do you try so hard to help them in a business of their own?
From my experience, the more you help others live their dreams is the more you live yours. From my experience, from analyzing the harvest that has come back at me, the more I'm not selfish is the more that I get to win.
So if you help them build their business, aren't they just going to turn around and leave you if it's successful? You
know what? I thought that. I had, you got the big mind and the little mind. I thought that, but they don't. Because when you treat people right, they don't leave. Because actually, once they leave you, they got to go to the matrix, right? They go out there and everyone else is being selfish and everyone else is telling them what they can't do. Then they come back and they're like, man, I didn't get that in here, but I do get it out there. And there's always that contrast of how I treat people versus, or at least how I treat them versus when they go out. So I don't really have that problem.
So are you guys comfortable telling us what your side businesses are?
Sure.
Okay.
I have a business. It's called Go Figure. It's geared towards students, school-age children, school students, parents, teachers, and adults who are going back to school, but it's geared towards math. For 11 years, I was a middle school math teacher, and I saw the problems that students, parents, and teachers had. And also a friend of mine who said, I'm interested in going back to school. I'm just terrified of math. Can you help me? I said, okay, light bulb came on. So I help people. I help those categories or anybody in general who just wants to learn more about math, the basics of math, not that trigonometry, calculus stuff.
There's a limit, right?
Yes, there is a limit. But, because a lot of times when I say the word, I tell people, yeah, I love math. You'll get that. You get that. Oh, no.
So is this like an online platform? Is it individual coaching? What does that look like?
It will be online platform.
Okay.
I don't want to say too much because I got some things in the works.
Sure.
But I'm helping. I have my first client, and he homeschools his children, and I am teaching them math as of now. But it'll be a product.
Cool.
When it's
the homeschool is huge in Texas. We homeschooled our kids when they were growing up. They're grown and gone now, but. Okay. But, there's a huge population of people. Texas is the promised land for homeschooling.
Yep, I homeschool my kids.
Oh, you do? Okay. Yep. So, it was amazing. and there's so many co-ops and ways for people to get curriculum. We used to go to a curriculum fair, a book fair, every August, I think it was. No, I'm sorry, it was in May. And it was here in Arlington in the DFW area. And there were like 300 vendors there selling different curriculum for all kinds of things, for math, for English, for foreign languages, for science. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, that's a huge market you're tapping into. All right, Deanna, are you open?
The name of my company is the DeMarie Group. We're a PR firm.
Say that again?
The DeMarie Group.
DeMarie, okay.
We're a PR firm, and currently my clients consist of Antonio T. Smith Jr. and the TheATSJr.Companies, Grace Sandals and Go Figure, and Tempest S. Smith with Nonprofits R Us.
Okay, so you're promoting all of those.
Yes, sir.
So are you actually an employee of the ATS Junior Companies as well, or and that's a side gig, or are they all?
I've actually how it's actually intertwined into the ATSJr Companies. I decided when he was helping us build our businesses, I was like, okay, I don't want that. I don't want employees. I don't want products. I don't want any of that. I just want to work for you. He was like, okay, so what you want is a micro business. And I still fought him on that because I'm like, okay, but I still hear product. He was like, no, I'm your product. I was like, okay, I can do that. So I am actually intertwined into the ATSJr Company.
Yeah, from a bean counter perspective, I pay her a salary. And then when she generates her own salary, that's her money. I don't touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, it's kind of cool that you want everybody to own what they do.
Absolutely.
And, it's funny, back to Dave Ramsey, he says, if I could find a way to pay the receptionist based on production, I would do it.
Wow.
Because he doesn't want to pay people to show up. In my business in real estate, nobody gets paid to show up. You only get paid if you produce something.
Yep.
You close a deal, now there's income that we can all share.
Yep.
But until there's something that actually generated some revenue, nobody gets anything. And so that Dave says he'd love to do that even for the receptionist. He just had never figured that out. But it sounds like you're kind of, in a way, doing that because it's like, hey, this part of the day is mine, that part of the day is yours, but I'm still helping you, so we're still doing this together.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I did her logo. My business partner, Tempest S. Smith, as she mentioned, did her website. Yeah, it's all group economics.
All right. So speaking of new things and people starting new things, I understand you have a book coming out.
Yeah, great plug. Appreciate you. February 5th.
I don't even know the name of it. I can't plug it.
Okay, well, I'm going to plug it. Self-promotion. Les Brown wrote the foreword, the great motivational speaker, known as #1 motivational speaker in the world. Les Brown wrote the foreword. The book is called So Happy and Grateful. It's part of a 3-part series, So Happy series. The next, if you're curious, is So Happy and Together. It is So Happy and Rich because, let's face it, money. People want to hear about money. But this book come out February 5th. The story behind this book is I'm not keeping the profits. That's what no one knows. We've never said it on air. What I've done is I had a core of about, how many of y'all is it? Six? Including me, so like 16. So what I've done is I'm splitting the profits 7 ways.
Okay. We're
going to try to sell 1 million copies, and Les Brown is going to help promote it. But we're going to split the book because they've been with me for so long, and I wouldn't be nothing without them. So instead of keeping my profits, every book sale gets split between the core of my team.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so the book, tell us the name again.
So Happy and Grateful.
So Happy and Grateful. And what is the book about?
The universal laws of happiness in you and how you fit in them.
Okay. Yeah. And where can I buy this?
Everywhere. Because my publicist is awesome. Yeah,
so everywhere. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all the usual suspects?
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
All the usual suspects. Mom and pop bookstores, if they still exist. If you want to travel out to Pluto, we'll find a way to get it out there in that bookstore in Pluto.
All right.
It's not a planet no more, though.
Well, Antonio, Grace, Deanna, thank you so much for being on the show today. I've really enjoyed it. Listeners, please go to TheATSJr.com for more information about them. I also know you guys are big on social media, so if you go to Facebook, TheATSJr.
That's it.
It's just it? All right.
Yep.
Facebook.com/TheATSJr. And that'll get you to them, too. For the show, please go to thenextlevelshow.com, or you can find us on social media and podcast and YouTube at The Next Level Show. Be back next week with another great guest.